You are being tested right now, and you have no idea. Every time she seems to pull away for no reason. Every time she asks a question that feels like a trap. Every time her mood shifts and you cannot figure out why. Those are not random moments, they are tests. And how you respond determines everything. Here is what nobody tells men over 45. The tests do not stop. They never stop. But the meaning behind them changes completely. When you were younger, her tests were about competition, about measuring you against other men. But now, her tests are about something deeper, something that matters far more to a woman choosing a partner for the rest of her life. She is testing whether you can hold her when things get hard, whether your steadiness is real or performed, whether you will still be standing when life shakes both of you. This was never your fault. Nobody explained what these tests actually are, so you have been failing them without knowing they were happening, reacting when you should have remained still, defending when you should have listened, proving yourself when proof was never what she wanted. Stay until I explain the fifth test, because that one destroys more relationships than any other. And once you understand it, you will see every difficult moment with a woman completely differently. If this is your first time here, welcome. This channel exists to give you psychological understanding that most men never receive. Not tricks, not tactics, real insight into how women experience attraction, security, and love. If that resonates, subscribe. What you learn here will follow you into every relationship for the rest of your life. Let me start by explaining why women test men in the first place, because this is where most people get it wrong. The common belief is that tests are games, manipulation, power plays designed to control you. Some men get angry about this. They feel it is unfair. They wonder why women cannot just communicate directly. But this interpretation misses something essential. Dr. David Buss at the University of Texas has spent decades studying mate selection across cultures. His research reveals something that changes everything. Women are biologically wired to assess long-term stability, not consciously, not deliberately, but through a pattern recognition system developed over thousands of generations. And here is the key insight. Direct questions cannot reveal what tests reveal. If she asks you, "Will you stay calm when I am upset?" you will say yes. Every man says yes. But that answer tells her nothing. Words are easy. Performance is easy. What she needs to know is how you actually respond when things are not easy. So she creates moments of friction, not to hurt you, not to manipulate you, but to see who you really are when the script falls apart. This is not manipulation. This is the nervous system of a woman seeking safety, seeking evidence that you are who you appear to be. Most men fail these tests because they experience them as attacks, as criticism, as rejection. They get defensive, they argue, they try to prove they are right. And in doing so, they prove something else entirely. They prove that they cannot hold steady when challenged. The first test I want to explain is something I call the withdrawal test. This is the most common test and the most misunderstood. She was warm, then suddenly she is distant. Nothing happened that you can identify, no argument, no obvious cause. She just pulled back. Her texts become shorter, her energy drops. She seems preoccupied with something she will not explain. Most men panic when this happens. They immediately try to close the gap. They ask what is wrong. They become more attentive, more available, more eager to fix whatever broke. And that response fails the test. Here is what she is actually doing. She is creating space to see if you will fill it with anxiety. She is withdrawing to discover whether her distance controls your emotional state, whether your sense of self depends on her warmth. This is about understanding, not control. She's not doing this to hurt you. She is doing this because she needs to know something crucial. Will you remain grounded when she cannot give you reassurance? Because life will take her away from you sometimes. Grief will make her distant. Stress will make her unavailable. Illness will make her withdraw. And in those moments, she needs a man who can hold himself together, who does not need her to be okay for him to be okay. Imagine this. She has been slightly distant for 2 days. Most men would keep asking what is wrong, would hover, would try to fix, would slowly become either resentful or desperate. But you do something different. You remain warm. You remain present, but you do not chase. You continue your life with the same steadiness you had before. You reach out once, kindly, without pressure. You say something like, "I am here if you want to talk. I am also fine giving you space." Then you actually give her space. In those few words, you communicate everything she needs to know. You communicate that you care, that you are available, and that you are not controlled by her distance. That combination is rare. That combination is what she is looking for. A woman in her late 40s told me something recently at a dinner gathering. She said, "I used to test men constantly. I did not even know I was doing it. I would pull away just to see if they would crumble." She paused. Most of them crumbled. They either got clingy or angry. Both felt like the same thing, like they needed me too much, like my distance was an emergency they could not handle. She took a breath. Then I met someone different. When I pulled away, he did not chase me. He also did not disappear. He just stayed steady, like a mountain that did not care whether the weather was stormy or calm. That steadiness made me feel safer than anything any man had ever said to me. That is what the withdrawal test is measuring. Not whether you care, but whether you can remain whole when she is not available to complete you. The second test goes deeper. I call it the chaos test. This one appears without warning. Everything is fine. Then suddenly she is upset about something that seems irrational. Something small has triggered a reaction that seems completely out of proportion. Most men try to solve the problem. They focus on the content of what she is saying. They argue about whether her reaction is reasonable. They try to explain why she should not be upset. And that response fails immediately. Because the chaos test is not about the content, it is about the container. She is not asking you to solve the problem. She is asking whether you can remain calm when she cannot, whether her emotional storm will sweep you away too, whether you have the capacity to hold space for intense feelings without getting lost in them yourself. Research from Dr. John Gottman at the University of Washington found that the single best predictor of relationship success is how couples handle moments of emotional flooding. Not whether they avoid conflict, not whether they agree on everything, but whether they can regulate themselves when things get intense. This is what she is measuring. Your ability to stay present without becoming reactive. Your capacity to witness her experience without being threatened by it. Imagine this. She is upset about something from work. She comes home and she is sharp with you, irritated by small things. Her tone has an edge that has nothing to do with you. Most men would react, would ask what her problem is, would become defensive, would match her irritation with their own. But you do something different. You recognize that this is not about you. You remain calm. You give her space to feel what she is feeling without trying to fix it or argue with it. You might say, "Sounds like today was rough." And then you let silence exist without trying to fill it. In that moment, you pass the test, not by solving anything, but by proving that her chaos does not create chaos in you, that you can be stable ground even when she is not. If your intention is not honest, none of this will work. Women sense everything. This is not about performing calm while seething inside. It is about actually developing the emotional regulation to remain present during difficult moments. The third test is something I call the priority test. This one is subtle but constant. She asks you to do something. It conflicts with something you wanted to do. How you respond reveals everything about how you will navigate the thousands of small negotiations that make up a life together. Most men handle this badly in one of two ways. Some men always say yes. They abandon their own needs constantly. They believe that being a good partner means never disappointing her. But this fails because it communicates that you have no center, that you will collapse your own desires the moment she expresses hers. That eventually creates contempt. Other men always prioritize themselves. They see any request as an attempt to control them. They become defensive about their time and choices. This fails because it communicates that she will always be secondary, that her needs will never matter as much as yours. Neither response works. Because the priority test is not asking you to choose her over yourself or yourself over her. It is asking whether you can navigate competing needs with clarity and respect. None of this works without genuine care for the person in front of you. Navigation requires caring about both people in the equation. Imagine this. She wants you to come to an event with her this Saturday. You had planned to spend that time on a project that matters to you. Most men would either resent going or refuse in a way that creates conflict. But you do something different. You pause, you consider both needs honestly, and then you respond with clarity. You might say, "That event matters to you, and I want to support that. I also have this project I have been looking forward to. Let me see if I can adjust my schedule. If I cannot do both this weekend, can we find another way to make sure you feel supported?" That response demonstrates something profound. You take her needs seriously. You also take your own needs seriously, and you approach the conflict as a problem to solve together, not a battle to win. That is what she is looking for, not a man who always says yes, not a man who always says no, a man who can hold both of your needs and find a path forward. What I am about to share next is the test that destroys more relationships than any other. The fourth test is called the history test. At some point, she will bring up something from the past, something you did that hurt her, something you thought was resolved, something that happened months or even years ago. When this happens, most men become immediately defensive. They feel ambushed. They argue that this was already discussed. They wonder why she cannot just let it go. And that response fails catastrophically. Because the history test is not about the past, it is about the present. When she brings up old pain, she is not relitigating the original issue. She is checking whether you have developed the capacity to hold her pain without defending yourself against it. Whether you can acknowledge impact without demanding forgiveness. Whether the man who hurt her has grown. Dr. Sue Johnson, who developed emotionally focused therapy, explains this clearly. In her research, she found that unhealed attachment injuries do not fade with time. They resurface whenever present circumstances trigger similar feelings. The only way they heal is through a reparative experience, where the injured partner feels truly seen and validated. When she brings up the past, she is offering you an opportunity for that reparative experience, and the test is whether you can take it. Imagine this. You are having a pleasant evening, then she mentions something hurtful you said 8 months ago. Your immediate instinct is to say, "We already talked about this, can we move on?" But you pause. You recognize what is actually happening. She is not attacking you, she is still hurting. And she needs something from you that she did not get the first time. So you say something like, "I can hear that still bothers you. Tell me more about what that was like." Those words change everything. You are not defending, you are not dismissing, you are inviting her to share her experience fully. You are proving that your ego can handle her pain. This is about understanding and respect, not control or manipulation. Passing this test requires genuinely caring about her experience more than protecting your self-image. The fifth test is the one most men never see coming. I call it the future test. At some point, she will say something about the future, about where things are going, about what she imagines for the two of you. Or she will ask a question that hovers around these themes without directly stating them. Many men freeze in these moments. They feel pressured. They give vague answers to avoid commitment. They change the subject or make jokes to deflect, and that response devastates her. Because the future test is not asking you to promise forever. It is asking whether you can be honest about your intentions, whether you are present in this relationship or just passing through, whether she is investing her heart in someone who sees her as temporary. Women who are drawn to older men often feel this more intensely. Research from relationship psychologists shows that women in these dynamics are frequently looking for stability and direction. They want a man who knows where he is going, who can articulate what he wants, who is not ambiguous about whether she fits into his vision of life. Imagine this. You have been together for several months. She says something like, "I have been thinking about where I want to be in a few years." She pauses. "Have you thought about that?" Most men would dodge, would give a non-answer, would say something like, "I do not really plan that far ahead." But you do something different. You recognize that she is asking for emotional honesty, not a marriage proposal, not a contract, just clarity about whether you are building something or just enjoying the moment. So you answer truthfully. You might say, "I have been thinking about that too. I know I want partnership, someone to build the next chapter with. I feel good about what we are creating, and I want to keep building and see where it goes." That answer gives her something to hold on to. Not promises, not pressure, but clarity, direction, honesty about where you stand. That is what the future test measures, whether you can be direct about your intentions without needing to control the outcome. Here is what most men never understand about all of this. You cannot pass these tests through technique. You can only pass them by becoming the man who naturally responds this way, by developing genuine emotional regulation, by building real security within yourself, by doing the internal work that makes steadiness natural rather than performed. A woman can sense the difference between a man who is acting calm and a man who is actually calm, between a man who is performing stability and a man who has cultivated it. Her nervous system reads the truth beneath your words. This is why these tests exist, because they reveal what words cannot. They show her who you are when the performance drops away. Most men will never hear this. They will continue reacting to these moments as attacks, defending themselves when defense was never needed, failing tests they did not know were being given. But you are different. You are here because you want to understand, because you know that real connection requires more than good intentions. It requires awareness. It requires growth. It requires becoming the man who can hold steady when everything invites you to react. Think about the tests we discussed. The withdrawal test, remaining grounded when she pulls away. The chaos test, staying calm when she cannot. The priority test, navigating competing needs with clarity. The history test, holding her pain without defending yourself. The future test, being honest about your intentions. Each one is an opportunity to prove something words cannot prove, to show her through action who you really are. In the comments below, type the word steady, just that word. It reminds you what these moments are actually asking for, not perfection, not always knowing the right thing to say, just steadiness. The ability to remain who you are when she needs to know that you are real. Because in the next video, I'm going to share something that most men never learn. The specific things a woman feels but will never tell you directly. The unspoken needs that drive everything she does. The invisible requests hidden in her everyday words. That video will change how you hear every conversation with a woman. Subscribe so you do not miss it.